I think it's cool that people are enjoying it and having fun. I think people saying that it is going to kill COD are coping. It won't last, and this game will also be completely dead. I guarantee it. I would take a bet on literally on my life that this isn't going to kill COD. And I would bet almost anything else that it's not even going to be played. It'll be a dead game. Activision devs do not play their own game.
3,000 devs can't figure out how to add a reconnect feature to a AAA title, I guess. I don't know.
Because Infinity Ward doesn't tell their consumers anything.
Maybe that'll take some of the sweats away from Shoot House.
You can cope about that, for sure.
Thanks for tweeting, at least. Thanks for doing more than Infinity Ward has done. They just keep tweeting about the soccer bundles in the store.
Things that are bad. We've got a couple words. Why don't you kick it off, Tanner?
This is going to be a longer section than the first part you guys heard.
Change it, obviously, of course. We are recording, boys and girls. Welcome to the Dropshot, a Call of Duty podcast Patreon bonus episode number 130. My name is Casey, also known as Razinon. Today, I'm joined by young Tanner.
Yeah.
The day of the Gregorian calendar is the 4th month, the 28th day of 2023 that we're recording this.
Yeah.
And our idea for this fine episode is to do a little Patreon gone public. We have a lot of things going on behind the scenes, a lot of moving parts as they were. We are settling in very nicely, which we'll talk about in our next behind the scenes episode. But if you want more details on that, once again, go to our Patreon Damascus tier. We do behind the scenes episodes every month. And our last one, we talked all about what I'm kind of referencing here, but I won't go into it now. But the point is, we are going to be talking more about the Patreon. Not necessarily because it's changing, because it isn't. At least we have no plans to at this time. But I think that Patreon very soon, if not already, is going to become a lot more attractive for the average listener, because it is probable that our public episodes are now going to have more ads on them. And if you become a patron at any tier, you get every single episode with 0 ads. So, for that reason, we thought, and for another reason, which is Season 3 is trash, we thought maybe we should release a Patreon episode publicly, so people can see kind of what they're getting into for signing up. Because in addition to, of course, ad-free episodes, you also get a minimum of 3 bonus episodes per month, all for $5. Ad-free, early access, minimum 3 bonus eps, full-ass length episodes. And that is what we're doing today. So this is a bonus episode number 130. But we are also going to be releasing this publicly for our Saturday episode this week, which will go live tomorrow, the 29th. So if you're a patron, you had access to this early, and you might be hearing this early, in fact. But if not, then let this be kind of a little sample. A little sample of what you can expect on the Patreon. So we do 2 public episodes every week, obviously. Our Thursday episode is focused on news and patch notes and upcoming changes, kind of official things, and like unofficial patches and stuff too, which are very common with Infinity Ward. Shout out to that dog shit dev studio. So we'll go over like Exclusive Ace created more patch notes that the devs should have done already. But anyway, Saturdays we do kind of different things, strategy or first impressions or reviews or things like that. For Patreon, we do 5 bonus episodes a month, and that gives us the space to kind of talk about a lot of different things that we really don't do on the public feed because we do them on Patreon instead. So the feeling of our Patreon episodes is somewhat different usually, because we cover topics that we don't normally cover for the public feed. This will be one example, kind of. But like very common Patreon episodes we do will be Warzone brainstorms, where Tanner and I will sit down. We think of ideas that might be good. So like, this is a good idea on paper, maybe, but we need to try it and see if it's actually good in practice. Because that's one thing I'm a big believer in, is that you really don't know, especially in like such a fast-paced game like COD, you don't know what's going to be good or effective on paper until you try it. And a lot of people like to theory craft a ton of things just based on a patch note or some blog post or something. And then once you actually try to do the thing, like, oh, they're reducing the recoil on the fucking RAL, maybe it's good now. It's like, well, go try it first, But like a lot of things like that, or like what kind of perks we should try. We get a little experimental. Like, that's a very common Patreon bonus episode that people seem to really enjoy. Second impressions, another very common Patreon episode. And then things like this, today's episode, where we get a little more broad than Call of Duty. Usually it's Call of Duty focused, but sometimes it is not. And that's kind of what we're doing today. This is a unique idea. I don't know who came up with it. Was it Chris? Or was it you?
I
Doesn't
don't
matter.
remember. I think it was someone in chat said something and gave us the idea. I don't remember. Yeah.
Yeah, either way. The idea today is we are going to talk about quote unquote COD killers. So this is a phenomenon that I've been hearing about it since COD 4, really. Happens all the time, and it happens with a bunch of big games. But anyways, the point is, as far as announcements go, this is what kind of the type of episode you can expect. If you did want to join the Patreon, if you're considering it. And again, that's going to become a more attractive option very soon if it's not already. So if you enjoy this episode, consider it. Patreon.com/thedropshot. Best way to support the show. You get a ton of benefits. You can go check out the website. And this is one little sample once again. So with that said, do we have any other announcements?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So, as I said, today, COD killers. That is the topic for this episode. So part of what
COD is dead.
Part of the idea, part of the reason this episode topic idea has germinated is twofold. Number one, COD is dead and dying. Yeah. It's not. It had 100 million monthly users, or users, I guess, active users for the month of March. So it's not dead, but it is dying. That is far worse. We went over this in our last episode, but that's far worse than they should be doing, even compared to themselves last year.
On a Modern Warfare title game, yeah.
Yeah, on the iDub title too, and it's like the newer game. It's crazy. But anyway, so for that reason, we kind of want to talk about COD killers, because kind of everyone's looking for an alternative to Call of Duty. Not everyone, obviously, but a lot of people are. A lot of streamers and shit too. And many have already gone. And another reason that we thought of this idea, or someone thought of this idea, is because XDefiant is the flavor of the month in this category right now. Mm-hmm. So this happens with fucking every popular video game in any genre. And I've never seen it more, actually, than for MMORPGs. Every new MMO that came out for a solid 5 years, people would call the WoW killer.
Oh,
the World of Warcraft killer.
I didn't even play in that. I didn't play those type of games, and I remember hearing that term, the WoW killer. Yeah.
Yep. It was like so common, ubiquitous for at least like a 5-year stretch. Every new MMO that would come out, WoW killer. Guess what, by the way? None of them killed WoW. Guess what company also owns WoW in addition to Call of Duty, by the way?
Yeah.
Blizzard Entertainment. So keep that in mind. They're doing something right, at least in terms of stuffing dollars into their pockets. Shout out to Bobby Kotick. So this does happen with like every genre of game. It was definitely most common with WoW, but it's also happens with Call of Duty a lot.
Yeah.
And we've heard a lot about COD killers, even since we started this podcast, actually.
I think there's about one big one every year, typically. I can't think of what it was last year, but there must have been something.
Halo.
No, Halo was older than that, wasn't it?
Halo came out. The new one came out last year, I think. Maybe
I think it was actually the end of
did. 21
it came out. Yeah, it was the end of 21.
Oh,
So you
okay.
could consider that one the one for 2022 as well, because people had faith for some reason. Yeah, because that's when that was the big month when everyone in the world was excited, including us, that Battlefield, Halo, and COD games were all coming out in like the same month, and everyone was like, gaming is back.
Yeah.
That was it. That was that stretch.
And then they added aim assist for keyboard and mouse, among other things.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's. I
they
mean,
did
it's
that.
completely insane.
I mean, Halo is. The game doesn't have aim assist. It's just you get close to the person and it's just on them the whole time. It's
a mobile game that you play on a controller,
and it's a dog shit game. Yeah, but yeah, some people thought that was gonna kill COD for sure, right? Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, the COD killer phenomenon is very common, and we want to talk about it and why it happens, and why everyone is wrong in every case, and in the future they will also be wrong. So we'll get into that in a second, but we have a couple little case studies we want to talk about. But the big popular one right now is XDefiant.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a 30-second Twitter clip of the gameplay. No, I've seen a couple gameplay clips on Twitter, actually. It looks fine.
It looks like a free-to-play arcade shooter. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks fine. And it's also not going to kill COD. And it annoys me every single time these games come out and people on Twitter say it's going to kill COD or whatever. So the first point, we have a couple of case studies we're going to get into. But the first point I want to make is, why do we need to say this game is going to kill COD? Why can't we just say XDefiant is really fun, I like playing it, and I'm going to keep playing it until I get bored of it? Why do you have to say it's going to kill COD? Why do you have to claim that? That's it's such a wild claim, and you get nothing for it. Unless you're right, which you won't be, by the way. We'll get into that. But like, why can't we be satisfied with a new game coming out that's also an FPS, that's just fun and exists, and COD also still exists? I don't know I don't understand the impulse to call every new game that has a modicum of traction on the internet the dethroning of whatever the most popular game in that genre is. I don't understand why that impulse exists.
Yeah.
Just enjoy XDefiant if you like it, but like, accept reality, it's not going to kill COD. And why do you care if it does? It doesn't matter to you. Are you shorting Activision stock? If that's the case, maybe you do want it to kill COD, but then stop, because you're going to lose your money. Oops. So anyway, I don't understand the impulse.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think the thing is people claim this because, well, one, people always claim it when Warzone mostly, but Call of Duty is at the lower points. If you remember mid 2020, late 2020, early 2020, when Warzone 1 was out, everyone was playing Verdansk, brand new game. There was no one claiming any game that was coming out, and I'm sure there were plenty of indie little dog shit games that were coming out at that time that were shooters. No one was ever claiming, oh, this is going to kill COD. It happens when we have the lows. It happened during the end of Verdansk, when the game was absolutely riddled with cheaters, worse than ever. It happened in Caldera when people were getting sick of Caldera, and it's happening now because, you know, the super sweats and us are not happy at all with this game. Because it was pretty much a step backwards in a lot of parts. So it's generally, this always happens when the Call of Duty lows are taking place.
I think that makes sense, because like people want to believe it's going to kill COD because they're so frustrated with the Call of Duty leadership.
Yeah.
That they want it to die because they are resentful toward the COD leadership for ruining the game, and they want them to like fail and lose their jobs and shit.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, actually. So I do understand the impulse now, actually. Because, yeah, I get it. I get it. It's like you guys are ruining your game and you're not getting punished for it. I hope this other game kills your game so that you do actually get punished for making bad decisions.
But what about the poor devs
fair.
just doing their jobs? That means they'll all lose their jobs too. If the game's
Yeah,
dead.
the devs have never done anything wrong, and it's all the greedy execs' fault.
Yeah, how do you take care of that? That's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. Too many innocents.
Jobs, yeah.
Buy the Black Cell bundle, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and then send us
Keep the devs
$30.
employed.
Yeah. $30 for that. Yeah, that's cool.
Minus 30. Yeah. So anyway, so we have a couple of case studies here. We are going to go in unorder. This is loosely chronological. I think it might be actually chronological.
It is. I think, well, kind of.
It's
close enough. Most of them were around the same
enough.
time, and then one of them's now, yeah.
But we're gonna end with XDefiant for the case studies, and talk about these games that some people were touting as COD killers and why they weren't, and why that's obvious, to anyone with a brain.
Yeah.
So, and then we're gonna talk about the through line. Why are none of these games COD killers? Why won't there be one? We'll get into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll start with Halo. So I guess that came out late 2021, huh?
Yeah, do you remember, you still hear people quote it sometimes. One of the devs said, let me find the article, on a stream when they were talking about Infinite Warfare, it's all the way back in 2018. People were asking about a Halo Battle Royale. They were like, oh, you guys should bring a BR. And then other, Halo fanatics were like, we don't need a fucking BR. It's Halo. We don't need this. That's stupid, blah, blah. And one of the devs said, I'll tell you right now, the only BR we're interested in is Battle Rifle, the original BR, so calm yourself. That is a infamous quote now, because every time people post like the Halo player base numbers or something, they always say that quote. Because Halo needed that, So why did Halo not succeed? And a lot of people thought this was going to actually harm Call of Duty multiplayer. Hey, shockingly, it didn't. You want to know why? Go play Halo that came... When did Halo 1 launch? Let's look this up. Halo 1...
Halo Combat Evolved.
Okay, Halo...
a long time ago.
Halo launched in November of 2001. Go play that.
Damn,
it's the same thing as playing Halo now. Why? Because it's a basic arena shooter. It looks, feels, plays the same as the game did more than 20 years ago. It has the same guns. It's boring. It's basic multiplayer. It's got this movement that was fun at the time. You jetpack up in the air, but now it's just like, holy shit.
Super fucking high.
I jumped in the air and I don't hit the ground for 15 seconds. That's not fun. It has... not aim assist, it has Grand Theft Auto aim lock, essentially, is what it is. It has Red Dead Redemption aim lock, Well, it did back then, too. You have to try to miss. So people always claim they want those type of shooters back, like all these Halo fanboys that didn't want a BR. But it's like the best example of a big-name video game not at all competing in today's world, because we've progressed past this genre. We're done with it. It's just too basic for everyone that has ADHD now. And it's just boring looking gameplay. And that was the biggest thing they missed, is a Halo BR, I think, could have actually done well, much like a Call of Duty BR has done, because of the name and the newer mode to that game. A Halo BR, I think, would have been huge. It would have been very popular. It would still probably be massive. But instead, for such a large name, Halo... I think you could consider Halo to be an actual dead game. Halo Infinite.
Yeah, maybe. No one talks about it.
You forget about it. Yeah. Last third. This is just on Steam. So
which
keep
is
that in mind.
crazy when you look at Halo 2 and Halo 3.
Yeah.
Those games. Those were massive. Those were giant games.
Halo
maybe
3,
bigger than COD at the time.
The biggest one. Yeah. I think so. I think they
might have been in the COD like Ghosts era or something. I wasn't playing COD at the time. I was playing Halo 3.
I think, yeah. Last 30 days, this is just on Steam, but Halo Infinite averages 3,000 players on Steam.
Jesus.
For a title with... For a
context,
Halo title...
COD is like 40,000 or some shit.
Well, that's like low. COD average is usually like 80, 90 a month. And that's what everyone's complaining about being like dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Halo is just And why did it fail? Because it's the same game it was 20 years ago. That's the thing that always comes down to is people want COD to be the same game as 20 years ago, but you would not play it if that were the case. You wouldn't.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do and it's boring.
Exactly.
It's the same reason COD multiplayer is boring now.
Exactly. But I think the thing people miss is that, and I'm going to talk about this more once we're done with all these, but is that it's a very fine line to straddle between, you don't want to like just keep making the same game with new graphics because people will eventually get bored of that, which is Halo Infinite. But also, you don't want to get too fucking crazy or you have a Warzone 2 incident.
Yeah, that's
true. Where you've made too many changes. But maybe the problem isn't too many changes. Maybe it's just really bad changes that are new. So it's very difficult to do that, especially for COD, which releases every single year. It's very hard to do because if you're going to, change something every year, like, yeah, you're going to lose some things that people really like. It's very difficult. But on the topic of Halo, yeah, the reason I think, is just not failing. The biggest thing about Halo, and the reason it was so popular, I think, first of all, it was an arena shooter when those were like very new or relatively new. I think there was like Quake before it, and that was kind of it. And then Halo came, and Halo had on its side, which I still think personally is way better than Call of Duty, is the lore. It's like the story, the campaign, the world building, the universe. That shit's all very cool. And it does appeal to gamers more than Call of Duty does, I think, from a purely world lore perspective. Because gamers are fucking nerds. They Dungeons and Dragons and
man.
A bunch of made up shit is what like video game players usually like. And Halo has a bunch of cool made up shit. It's like a dope story. It's really interesting. And the setting reflects that as well. Your character, Master Chief in the campaign, is like a 7'6" tall super soldier with Kevlar grafted to his bones in a super suit that lets him jump fucking 20 feet in the air like a cat. It's cool. Like that's like a cool, and then there's the fucking aliens and all that shit. And I think COD just doesn't have that, but COD has other things that are more gameplay related, probably. But like the Halo story, the lore and all that shit, very cool in 2001 or whatever. Now we're in 2025. We can add new stories to the existing world, like Star Wars does. There are a fucking billion new Star Wars stories that are made
new games,
in one universe. And those do well, for sure. But a lot of the things that do well in the Star Wars universe are not the video games. Some of them are, but the reason they do well isn't because they're in an interesting universe only. Because there have been plenty of Star Wars games that have utterly fucking flopped. Because even though they take place in a cool universe, that's not enough for a video game to be compelling. And there have been great Star Wars games, and there have been fucking terrible ones that got miserable reviews. So for Halo, cool world, not going to carry you the whole way. And it's really just a reskinned Combat Evolved with new weapons, a couple new mechanics, to be fair, and like better graphics and shit. And them not making a BR is completely fucking insane.
Yeah.
I think it is kind of silly when people say every single FPS game needs a BR. I don't think that's true. I think Halo is one that needs a BR, though.
Yeah, I had that written down to talk about later, because a lot of people do say that about games, yeah. But
yeah. Because just like you said, Halo's like a huge name. Even though no one's playing it, everyone has heard of Halo. Like, everyone has.
Yep.
And it's a very cool world. And if the game was fun, I'd be fucking playing it. But it's boring, because I've played 100,000 hours of Halo 3. I don't need to play more of it.
You watch Halo Infinite gameplay, and it looks like how the game looks and plays like how the game, like how Halo 2 and 3 did. Yeah, it really does. Like nothing has changed. And you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing about a Halo BR, that it's such a missed opportunity for so many reasons. First of all, again, going back to the story thing, it's way easier to construct a BR and have it make sense and be realistic within that universe than in Call of Duty. Because Call of Duty, you have regenerating health, doesn't make sense. You have armor plates that stop sniper bullets, doesn't make sense. You can res people, it doesn't make sense. All of these things do make sense in Halo, because Halo is a fake universe anyway. So you have regenerating shields. It's like, okay, yeah, we've been playing with that since day one. Some Halo games have like kind of had a loadout, but most of the Halo games, the older ones especially, you spawn in with an assault rifle. And when you die, you respawn with an assault rifle. If you want a different gun, you need to go to where the gun spawns on the map and pick it up. Or kill someone who picked one up already and pick that up. And that is what a BR is. There's ground loot everywhere. You drop in with a gun and then you like go loot shit. It's like you don't even have to change the mechanics of the spawning system. Like, it's crazy to me. And you could customize your fucking Spartan or whatever, or you could play as an elite maybe. I don't know. You can unlock cool different like armor pieces that are cosmetic only. Pick up overshields as like field upgrades or active camo or something. Don't do active camo actually, but still it was so easy. It was such a no-brainer to make this a BR. And you could make like any fucking cool ass map you want with the launch pads, warthogs. It already has vehicles. Like, it already has everything you need actually for a BR, except the mode. And they just decided not to make it. I find it completely insane. And I can't believe they didn't do it.
And I think they had the theory back then, because that was said, I think, in like 2018, that BRs were already going to die off or something.
Yeah, that's a misplay.
So that's a bad read. And we talked about this a little bit. I think it was in the pre-show yesterday when we were talking about that. But BRs they're just scratching the surface. I think battle royales will be around for a long time. Like, these people are still making arena shooters. At least 10 years from now, minimum, there will still be plenty of studios making battle royales. They'll change. I don't know how yet, because it's hard to predict those type of things. Just like Fortnite came out of absolutely nowhere. Who would have ever predicted a game where you just start building shit and then you pull out your gun again and shooting, and then you build another wall, jump on top of it, you build platforms. You don't predict stuff like that. That came out of nowhere. So it's hard to predict, but BRs will be around for a long time. This is just the beginning stages of them. They'll change massively, I think.
Yeah.
But
like Fortnite changed the game for sure.
Yeah.
Totally different thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So in summary, Halo did not kill COD. There are some reasons why. Next one is Splitgate.
This is my personal favorite.
Yeah, dude. A lot of people were coping very hard and saying this was definitely going to kill COD. Because you can teleport, the skill gap potential is fucking insane, which I think is probably true, actually. But again, for a successful game, you can't just make a game with like a really high skill gap and that's it. That can't be all you have. That's important. It's necessary, but it's not sufficient.
Yeah.
And the things Splitgate had turned out were not sufficient. I don't know if Splitgate ever came out of beta. Did it release? Do people play it?
I don't know if it exists anymore.
Did they give up? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I really don't know. Oh, I guess they said in September of 22 they were ceasing development on the game.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if they're going to like make another one or something, though. Maybe there's another one coming out.
So if you've never heard of this,
that's what this
I didn't
article
bother
says.
Explaining Halo because everyone's heard of Halo. But Splitgate, some of you actually might have missed this moment in time, but there was a game that was in open beta on the internet fairly recently, and every fucking Call of Duty creator was streaming it, hyping it up, talking about how it was going to be the next big FPS game and that it might kill COD, or that it will kill COD, some people were saying probably. And it was a an FPS game that was like a sci-fi kind of world where the big gimmick about it was that you could create portals a la the game Portal. So you press Portal 1 and then a separate button is Portal 2. So, you know, you put your blue portal here and then your red one over there, and then those are connected. So you walk through the blue one, you come out the red one, like the game Portal. But there was like no cooldown on it. So you could just like put it at your feet, drop the other one while you're midair, and do all kinds of cool, crazy shit. Which is like a cool, really cool idea for an FPS game in an arena shooter. It's actually kind of awesome. And Tanner and I played it for a while, and it was fun for a while. And then because it's an arena shooter, we got bored. And then the game stopped being developed.
I wouldn't even say it was fun for a while. I think that game for us had about a 5-hour lifespan. Like, actually, it was fucking bad. Yeah. And so like I said earlier, I had tweeted this in January of 2022. I had said, remember that one time everyone was pissed at the cheating situation in Warzone, so they all pretended Splitgate was a fun video game and it was the next big thing. It was hyped. All of the big Warzone streamers were on that shit all the time, and so many of them were actually convinced that was like the next big video game. And I swear to God, we said from the very beginning, we played it because like everyone else, Verdansk was unplayable at the time. Like, genuinely 3 to 5 rage hackers in every single lobby. And with skill-based matchmaking, that's even worse when you have a higher than average KD. You can't get away from them, ever. You can't.
Correct.
So it was miserable. So we played it on stream probably 2 or 3 times because we want to try something else. People were telling us we should play it, blah, blah. We knew from the beginning, especially like me from the very beginning, I was like, fuck, this game looks, no way, man. This looks boring and so repetitive. And so that's the common theme among most of these Call of Duty killers, is that people try to hype them up in times when Call of Duty has its lows. If this XDefiant beta had not released right now, when everyone else has been bitching about Warzone 2, the movement, the time to kill, etc., they're not making the changes they want to see. If everyone was still loving Warzone 2, if Rebirth was out or something and people were playing that nonstop, they wouldn't have given a shit about XDefiant. They wouldn't even have played it. They wouldn't have heard about it. Sure, it's ran by a big studio, but it would have been virtually unheard of in the Call of Duty community, only because people are liking it now because of how much they hate the game. But yeah, so Splitgate, it was late July, early August of 2021. And I'm dead serious. It went from peak popularity to like no one talking about it in not even a month, I don't think. I would actually say, like, realistically, I think 2 to 3 weeks. It had a very, very short lifespan. It had an insane peak, and then it just dropped right fucking off. Because, the Verdansk cheating situation, all-time high. I don't remember. I think there was one big streamer that tried it, and then everyone else started playing it. It was, like, maybe Ninja, Shroud, Tfue.
XQC, maybe? He does that all the time. He blows
know.
up little games, but maybe not him.
Maybe it was him. Yeah, it could have been him, too. I don't know. I feel like it was someone, though, that more COD players would have known of than someone like XQC at the time, but I don't know. So the issue with Splitgate was it was so basic and repetitive. I mean, it got fucking boring so fast. It was these small little maps that were like, 2005 designs.
They were boring ass maps to look at.
Do you remember that little ranked mode that we played with like me, you, Jake, and someone else? There were like 12 different maps, but I'm not kidding. You couldn't tell the difference. You could hardly tell they were 12 different maps because they were that close to each other. They would like change like one ramp and it would be a whole different map. And I'm like, oh, this is a different map than the last one we were playing. I didn't realize until 5 minutes.
All identical assets.
Very identical. The sounds, the looks of the game were boring. The guns were boring to use. It actually had like nothing good going for it, but people were trying to write off Call of Duty because the cheating situation was absolutely miserable. But yeah, it's like
I think mechanically it was good, but that's just not enough.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
It was. Honestly,
like
and I had said this back then,
mechanics.
I was never a fan of Halo. I thought Splitgate felt a lot better than Halo does, and I will still stand by that now. Splitgate, I think, was just a faster-paced, more fun version of Halo, but even then, can't hold its own in 2023, I don't think. So yeah, we just had like a lot of fun for like 1 hour, and then it's like, okay. So we streamed it once. I remember like, dude, this game is a lot of fun. By the end of that session, I'm like, okay, it's pretty fun. We started up the second stream. We started playing. By the end of that second stream, I was like, okay, I'm starting to get bored. I think we streamed it a third time. By the end of that third stream, I think we like ended stream and we were just like, yeah, I'm done. This game's fucking boring. And it was like that quick, and we all just uninstalled it and we're done with it. And I think this is the most repetitive game of all of them. Now, a lot of people always bring it up like Splitgate was like a few indie devs. It like wasn't a big studio. Yeah, sure, I completely understand that. But the fact is, you guys thought it was going to be the next big thing. So you say that now when you're defending it because it died. Like, well, it's ran by a few guys. Well, exactly. How are 3 guys in a college dorm going to make a AAA title that's going to perform well? They're not.
That's going to kill COD.
Use your brain once. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like we're not shitting on the devs of Splitgate. I think it's a really fucking, if it was made by 3 people, that's a very impressive feat, because that game mechanically was really cool. There were only a couple guns. The maps, there was only one texture, and it was the walls, the ramps, the ceilings, the floors. It was just a white, like, hospital room kind of thing. So it was just super boring and repetitive very, very quickly, because you saw all the assets after your first game. For 30 seconds, actually. You could play for 30 seconds, pick up all the guns, you say, oh, okay, I've seen every single file this game has. All of them. There's no bushes, there's no lights, there's no newspapers, there's no lamps, there's no tables, there's no chairs. So, and that shit gets old.
Yeah, you're right.
Even if it had all of that, it would still have gotten old, because it's just like an arena shooter, and the one thing it had was a very cool mechanic, which it did have a very cool mechanic, but that's not enough. And for anyone who was under the misapprehension that was going to kill COD, we said it right away. No, it's not.
Yeah, that one was extremely obvious to me.
Absolutely not. Yeah. It was a cool mechanic, though.
Partner. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah. So, yeah, that one, of course, didn't even get developed, so that's interesting.
Yeah, that was my favorite storyline of all. So supposedly they are working on a new game now. That's why they ceased development on Splitgate. So I'm sure they'll come out with Splitgate, but they added some chairs and tables to the maps, and it'll also be dead in a month, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So moving on here, not a ton to say about this one, but this was an interesting one. Battlefield 2042 launched around the same time as...
I'll go pee, keep going.
Guess it was Vanguard, right? When did it... I think it was... 21, yeah. So Battlefield 2042 launched right around the same time as Call of Duty Vanguard. So actually, now that I think about it, that's the main reason people were thinking this was going to kill COD. Because no one wanted to go back to the World War II genre. I don't know why the fuck Sledgehammer and Activision decided on that. From the first time you start hearing about the World War II genre, you say, why would they do that again? Why? Doesn't matter that it didn't feel like World War II. It doesn't. The fact that it was marketed that way, like a Vanguard World War II era shooter, absolutely hurt the game a lot, which is why it had like record low sales for Call of Duty. People never even tried it just because of the genre. So fucking miserable idea to make a World War II era game. And that, looking back now, I remember, is the main reason people are like, oh, Battlefield's going to destroy COD this year. So yeah, and people were saying Battlefield, Call of Duty's going to be dead, Battlefield's going to kill it. The thing is, I think so many people forget Battlefield and COD have coexisted for 20 years. Battlefield 2042 came out in like early 2000s. I remember, I think Battlefield 2042 is the original one. I'm like 99% sure. At least like the original big one. I remember playing that game back on dial-up internet. Yeah, 2002. That long ago. COD, I think the original Call of Duty launched a year or two after that. They've coexisted for years. And I never honestly quite understood the Battlefield versus Call of Duty argument, because they're different games. One is a basic multiplayer shooter. The other is a basic large-scale multiplayer shooter with vehicles. But people always compare them, so that's why. And Battlefield 2042 was looking good. It had a miserable launch. In fact, so bad, once people started seeing the gameplay, how large the maps were, you and I, what's it called? we refunded it before we even played it.
Sure did.
Yeah, because
So
I
we
watched
pre-ordered
Enders
to
play
get
the
early
map.
beta access.
Yeah, we did. Yep.
And then, so yeah, I think Tanner, I don't think even launched the game, but
I didn't. I watched Enders, and that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, we pre-ordered, and then the beta like released, and then I was hearing nothing but bad things about it. But I said, oh, I bought it. I have access. I might as well try it. I launched the game. I went into the settings, and the settings didn't even make sense. I can't explain to you what they were because they didn't make sense and I don't remember them. But your mouse sensitivity, for example, which is like the most important possible setting for an FPS game, probably. First thing I went to, I go there and it says like asymptote of the hypotenuse of the horizontal curvature, and then in parentheses, like the Cornelius-Cornwallis effect is factored in for you, and close parentheses. And then the value wasn't like a slider of like 0 to 100 for mouse sensitivity, you know, like any first-person game that's ever existed. But it was like hieroglyphics in Egyptian, and you had to like click the one you want. I'm not kidding. It was that nonsensical. It wasn't exactly that, but it didn't make sense. I couldn't do the sensitivity. And I'm not a complete fucking moron. So I should have been able to figure out how to get mouse sensitivity or change it. And there was an option to affect my mouse sensitivity, but I didn't know what the effect would be.
Yeah.
And I wasn't about to go in and fucking calibrate it like an asshole. So I looked at the settings and I said, oh, I'm with Tanner. I'm done. Exited the game, didn't even actually go into a game.
Yeah.
Exited the game, refunded it, uninstalled that shit.
I feel like I may have been in Discord with you at the time when you were doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you were. I'm pretty sure you were, actually.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing with that, too, is they made these huge fucking maps in Conquest with 128 players, which, yeah, people didn't ask for. Like, even though you're doubling the player count, the maps are way too big to traverse. It makes it so vehicle-focused, it ruins any sort of infantry, yeah. So their launch is what ruined that game primarily. But, you know, Battlefield is not dead. In fact, it's probably more alive than it was a month or two into the game right now. Because I think the primary reason Battlefield still exists and is around is because they have that strong, older in age community that's still playing it no matter what. Just load into a game and you'll see. The players are dog shit. Dog shit miserable. And that's because it's a bunch of old dudes still playing the game.
And because they are a legacy FPS that has that's very popular and has a very strong name, unlike most other video games, especially FPS games, people will give it a second chance a couple months later. But like Splitgate, if it was the perfect game right now, still no one would play it. No one's giving a random game a second chance. Battlefield,
that's a good point.
It's a huge enough name. People actually have been giving it a second chance. Me and Tanner included, by the way. We bought the game again for at a steep discount.
$18, $17, something like that.
At a steep discount. But we did, and like, you know, I've played a couple times. Tanner has been playing as well.
I'd recommend
and
it now.
A ton of other people have been playing it again. They came back to it months later after they fixed many of the issues, but probably not all of them. Certainly not all of them.
Yeah.
I guess a year and a half later. It's been that long. But like most other games can't do that. But anyway, the point how this relates to COD. Yeah, I'm exactly like Tanner said earlier. I don't even understand why there's a comparison. They're both FPS games, and that's pretty much where the similarities end. Like if you want to say Splitgate is a COD killer, fine. They're both like 6s, fast-paced arcade shooters. Okay, those are like the same genre of game. I don't know if I would call Battlefield the same genre of game as Call of Duty. Yeah. I don't think it is, frankly. It's wildly different. Yeah. There's no BR, first of all. There have been.
They've tried, it didn't work, yeah.
Yeah, so. But, like, the average Battlefield experience is nothing like the average COD experience. The average COD experience is 6v6 on a small-ass map, infantry only, no vehicles at all. The average Battlefield experience is, I don't know, what is it, 48. Heavy vehicle focus.
Yeah, 64,
you spawn on
64
squads
on
and shit. It's like way different. So like
entirely different.
Anytime anyone has said this is going to kill that game, it's like, no, these don't appeal to the same people. And there's obviously definitely a ton of crossover, but if you make the perfect Battlefield game, you're making the perfect vehicle focused / infantry focused, very large scale, big map multiplayer game, which doesn't compete with COD.
Yeah.
So it's like independent, you know. I just never understood the comparison, but of course it's not going to kill COD. It's never going to kill COD.
Yeah.
Because they're different games.
Yeah, like, you know, growing up, I played a bunch of them. I played Battlefield 2 a shit ton, Battlefield 1942, Vietnam, Battlefield 3, 4, and I also played COD. I played COD 2, COD 4, some of the other console ones. So it's like, you know, I've played both because they were so different. It was a completely different experience playing both games. But yeah, so going back to what it has been with the other 3 games at the Call of Duty lows, that is why people thought Battlefield in 2021 at the end of the year was going to kill Call of Duty off, was because Vanguard was a World War II era video game. That's it. That was what they were riding on. Even though the games are entirely different, that's what people were claiming.
Yeah. Yeah. Next point. This isn't actually a point. It might be, though. Do you remember, Tanner? This was like a year, maybe more ago. There were Twitter clips of some Ubisoft shooter game that people were very excited about. And Nate Gibson was one of them. He retweeted a clip of gameplay of some Ubisoft FPS. And he was like, "Oh, this looks interesting," or something.
That's
Do you remember what I'm talking about?
That's XDefiant.
Oh, that is XDefiant?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It was, when we first, it's...
I didn't know that. Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so I had asked in Discord. There's been a lot of other games. We'll get into XDefiant here in a second now, but there's been a lot of other games that people thought could damage COD. Hyperscape, Blood Hunt, that awful vampire battle royale. I can't believe people wasted their time downloading that. That one was wild. Holy shit. There's like civilians on the map that you can like suck their blood or something too.
It was very
Holy
different.
Shit, that game looked fucking weird. Very, very different. Yeah. What else did Jake say? I'd asked for some other games. Shatterline, Hyperscape, The Finals, yeah. So all of those, they're just not even worth talking about because they also all died off very quickly.
We will talk about BRs a little more though, but
yeah.
But the next one is, I guess, the Ubisoft game, which is XDefiant. That's funny.
They've been showing gameplay of that for a year or two now. Yeah.
Yeah. So XDefiant is all the rage right now. This is the current iteration of the COD killer. I think it's in beta. Well, I'm pretty sure it's not fully released yet. I think it's in beta. I think it's in like semi-open beta where you need an invite, but you can get a code anywhere. And this is what's currently all over the timeline. How long will this last? Don't know, but it won't kill COD. I can tell you that much. I've seen, again, maybe like 2 clips of XDefiant, and then I watched Nate Gibson streaming it a little bit. Shout out to Nate Gibson, friend of the pod. And kind of like Tanner said, actually, is people are just very hungry. And there is a subset of people that just only play FPS games. And they're always like looking for any FPS game that's fun. And right now they've latched on to XDefiant. And a lot of people, a lot of Call of Duty creators, find XDefiant to be very fun and interesting and cool. I cannot speak to the mechanics or anything about it. Haven't tried it, and I won't be. What I can
the beta
say,
ended like 2 days ago as well.
Okay. Do you know when it releases?
I don't know. I don't know if they have a release date. XDefiant release date. Let's see. I don't think there is one yet.
Okay. So if this is a Ubisoft game, though, this also, like Halo and Battlefield, has a very big publisher behind them. So this game will be coming out, unlike Splitgate. But like, I'd put this. I think it's cool that people are enjoying it and having fun.
Yeah.
I think people saying that it is going to kill COD are coping, like, which is pretty much all of this is cope. It's not going to kill COD.
I think it'll kill COD multiplayer, yeah.
And I've heard mostly good things about it for a while. I think this has already had more longevity than Splitgate, for example. But it won't last, and this game will also be completely fucking dead. I guarantee it. And I would take a bet with anyone that this game, I would take a bet on literally on my life that this isn't going to kill COD. And I would bet almost anything else that it's not even going to be played. It'll be a dead game by the time a month after it launches, because it's, again, just like, it's like 6v6, but I guess it's also, there's like hero powers.
There are like some little ults and stuff, yeah. I don't think this will end up being a dead game. I think it will have a player base for a while. But yeah, I just can't see it competing with Call of Duty multiplayer. Because the thing is, the people that have these thoughts are the top players that were the slide canceling movement kids in MW19. Why are they so excited about XDefiant? Why did they go to play it? Because they hate the movement in Warzone 2. If we still had Warzone 1 and they were slide canceling past all these kids and knifing them in the back, finishing moving them, shooting their bodies with a Blixen, they wouldn't give a shit about the game. They like this game because it has faster movement and a slower time to kill than Call of Duty.
Yeah.
That's the main thing that they're grasping onto right now. But it's not a game that casuals would ever play. So who's going to end up playing it? Them and nothing but them. So the game is going to be only super sweaty kids playing against each other, and then they're going to get bored of it because they're going to be trying to get their clips, and they can't get them because they're getting shit on by the only other players that are on the game, which are also very good FPS players. Yeah. But, you know, it's like, it's often during the beta, it had more Twitch viewers than like Warzone would have in the category, and people kept bringing that up.
I hate when people do that. It's so annoying.
It's like, well, like, it's a beta that's out for a month, and also it's like, you know, some of these people, I mean, like fucking, like Shroud was playing it at some points, yeah, I'm thinking. Exactly. So he's bringing in 30, 40,000 viewers by himself, right, you know. But yeah, all of these kids enjoying it and saying so many good things about it. That's fine if you enjoy it, but they're saying that because they can't stand the Warzone movement right now. I can't see any of them playing a game like this long term. I can't. They're just personally bored of how the game feels, and they're craving something new and different. These games just, I don't think, can hold the player base going forward. You know, it's a basic arena shooter, very basic. 3-lane maps, slower time to kill, fast movement. Sounds great on paper, yeah, and it does look fun. But how long can you play something like that? You know, all these sweaty Warzone kids want this, but I think they always failed to realize they liked Warzone 1 because it was different often. You can't get that much different playing 5s or 6s multiplayer for hours and hours and hours on end on these 3-lane maps. You spawn in, you go right, you get a kill. You push through, you kill another guy spawning in. You flank through their other flank or their other lane, and you kill someone else. It's so closed compared to how open like Resurgence and BR can be. There's so many different things you can do, different circle endings, so many different variations in the gameplay, and you just don't get that in multiplayer anymore. So it's like, sure, you really enjoyed the beta for a short period of time, and it does look like the game would be fun to play. I downloaded it, decided I never want to try it because I'm like, it's a beta. It's like, cool, I'll play it for a week, and then what? I can't play the game for 6 months. I don't like that. I'd honestly rather just not even try it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like, how long did all those kids stay on MW19, Cold War, Vanguard, or MW2 multiplayer? Because that's what you have to compare it to, not them playing Warzone 1. You have to compare it to the multiplayer games, because that's what it is. And I guarantee you none of them played any of those multiplayer games for long, because they get boring. So they're just all grasping so hard right now, because they want that movement, they want that, you know, that skill gap they all talk about. And it's going to be another repetitive arena shooter that felt like it's, you know, feels like it's 10 years old or something. Now, the one thing that I do wonder about, it is launching with a ranked mode. In fact, they added part of the ranked mode into the beta for like last week or two. I'm trying to figure out if that would help the game or not. And I don't think it necessarily would. Because if a game already is going to have a smaller player base, because casuals are not going to play a game like XDefiant. I struggle a little bit to see how a ranked mode would make it have more replayability, I guess, than just the core game. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't... If there's, let's say, 1,000 people playing the game, ranked mode doesn't mean a whole lot, you know? It's like Modern Warfare 2 ranked, it means something, because if you hit like Iridescent or top 250, it's like, holy shit, there are a lot of people playing Call of Duty multiplayer grinding through the ranks. You are insane. But if you're hitting like the top ranked in XDefiant, it's like, okay, well, how many players are even playing the game? I feel like it just means far less in a game like that.
It's also weird because I don't think... And I'm not sure I know the reason why this is true, but I think it is. You look at a game like Valorant, that's like a new game that is very repetitive. But because it has a ranked mode, and only because it has a ranked mode, well, I guess it's like a good game on top of that, but if it didn't have a ranked mode, no one would play it. But because it does, it has like a very strong community and a ton of people play it. And it's like a solid, successful game. Like Valorant is a successful game. But when you look at something like XDefiant or any other game that could release with only 6v6 or 4v4 arena and then add a ranked mode, I don't see that having longevity. I feel like ranked arena shooter does not have the same staying power or replayability as a ranked Counter-Strike or Valorant does, but I don't know why.
Yeah, I had that same thought.
Repetitive, right?
Yeah, that's what I also don't understand. Val is only popular because a bunch of people just left Counter-Strike to play that instead. It's not like Val formed its own entirely new player base. Most of the people are former Counter-Strike players.
Right.
So, like you can't count both of those games. Yeah, I don't know. That's what I wonder too. I honestly think one of the main thing is people that tend to, especially play Counter-Strike, are PC gaming, I guess, OGs, you could say, that have been playing the games for a long time. And they like the competitive nature of keyboard and mouse versus keyboard and mouse. And I think having actual raw skill, you miss a shot, you miss that shot, it's a skill issue. And it's not having to go up against aim assist and things like that. I think it really is that simple for that type of player base. Because you see, like, people that play Counter-Strike are usually extremely outspoken about things like aim assist. They say it's aimbot, game aims for you, blah, blah. They hate on shit like that. So I think having a KBAM only competitive shooter is the primary reason they are as popular as they are still. Because a lot of people do want
probably that. True.
That has a very strong community.
If Valorant was crossplay, it wouldn't.
Oh, fuck
it would fail. Mm-hmm. It would ruin it. Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. Or cross input, anyway.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think that's probably the thing. I think that is probably the difference. That would explain it. But anyway, yeah, what's your next point here?
Yeah, so the thing is with all these...
There are many more examples we could have brought up, by the way.
It sounds like we're trying to hate on these games. I'm bringing these up because people out there genuinely think a game like XDefiant will suddenly make Call of Duty change their game in a drastic way. It's just that's an insane theory. Their sales are going up. Activision made $1.3 billion in microtransactions in Q1 of 2023. I'm sorry, but XDefiant is not going to change the way they design and make Call of Duty whatsoever. It is not a competition to Call of Duty, despite what many people think, in my opinion. It's not going to change anything Infinity Ward is going to do. It's not going to bring back movement to Call of Duty. The games change. The game this year may have better movement. That's not going to be because of XDefiant. It's just because Sledgehammer made it slightly different. 2024 Treyarch's game will have different movement because they chose to make it a little different. It has nothing to do with the, quote, competition of a game like XDefiant. It's not going to change the time to kill. It will not cause the developers that work on Call of Duty to suddenly be good at their job. It won't. A game like XDefiant just isn't a direct competition to Call of Duty, and I think that's what so many people keep grasping at, and I don't agree with that at all. It's a basic arena shooter. Call of Duty is focused on something like Warzone now. It is like zero competition.
I'm really glad you brought up this point, because that is something that people say who are championing these games. They say like, oh, we should all hope that this such and such game, like XDefiant, for example, becomes really popular, because then there will be competition, and that will force Activision to respond to market demand and therefore implement slower TTK like XDefiant does, or faster movement like XDefiant does, or whatever. And the problem with this theory is that the only way Activision is going to change what it is doing in response to what other games are doing is if those other games are taking money out of Activision's pocket, which they will not be. Activision made more money this year on Warzone 2 on a much worse product than the game they were updating the year before. So why would they change anything? They don't care what XDefiant does. They don't care what fucking Super Sweat Aim Nerd Aim Labs affiliate on Twitter says.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter to them. You. They don't care about you at all. They care about the numbers, the revenue they're generating. So that thought would be true if XDefiant got so popular that it stole millions of players from Call of Duty.
Yeah.
But that's not going to happen. So it's a wasted point. It's so outside of the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
And I think the through line here, when we're talking about multiplayer specifically, because we're going to get into the BR aspect in a second, but like all of these games pretty much that we've talked about, actually all of them, these have been arena shooters, sixes games, where they are going to kill COD, because COD is also the sixes game. It was at its core anyway.
Yeah.
Some might argue it still is. But the arcade shooter, the arena shooter, the common theme with all of these and why they all fail to kill COD is twofold. Okay. The devs that are making these new games, like XDefiant, they are operating on the faulty assumption that if they just make the perfect arcade shooter, it will kill COD. And I think for the more indie devs, like the Splitgate devs, they're noticing SBMM, they're noticing bad map design, they're noticing no red dots on minimap, they're noticing no audio, they're noticing general casual catering mechanics that Activision is doing. And they are thinking, well, because they are making all these mistakes, we can make the perfect arcade shooter that doesn't have SBMM, that has good map design, that has footstep audio, etc., that doesn't cater to casuals, that has a slower TTK. And by virtue of that and other things, maybe something innovative and new like a teleporter, we can create the perfect arcade shooter. And if we create the perfect arcade shooter, we will be massive, just like Call of Duty 4 back in 2008 was. And the problem isn't, the reason arcade shooters are not popular anymore isn't because there aren't any good arcade shooters. The reason they aren't popular anymore is because that genre is dead. Arcade shooters are dead. Even Call of Duty doesn't make arcade shooters anymore. Call of Duty makes Warzone, and then it adds a $60 side game where you can level up your guns for Warzone, where they can sell you microtransactions. That's actually the business model. No one plays arcade shooters anymore. Dude, does anyone have a friend, a gaming friend, who plays sixes COD? Because I don't.
Like all day long, and that's all they play, yeah.
I actually don't know anyone. That used to be Call of Duty. It used to be the arcade shooter game. But arcade shooter games are dead as a genre. So you can make the perfect arcade shooter and it doesn't matter. We're done. Back in 2008, again, or whenever the fuck COD 4 came out, arcade shooters were still new, especially in the way COD did them, where there were ranks, there were camos, there were things to grind for, there were kill streaks. None of that shit existed in Quake or Halo. So that was really different and innovative at the time, in addition to a very addictive, fun multiplayer experience. Now, an arcade shooter can still be really fun to play in and of itself, but gamers, I hate that word, have been playing that type of game for close to 2 decades now. The genre itself is dead. And gaming genres do die. It happens. The RTS genre, what happened there? It's dead. StarCraft 2 was maybe the biggest game on Earth at its peak. Maybe not, but it was definitely top 3, top 5. Another Blizzard title, by the way. Where's the RTS now? What's the most popular RTS game right now? Bitch couldn't tell me.
Yeah.
Because no one knows. Because no one plays RTS games anymore. The genre died. It's not like there are millions of RTS fans that are waiting for the perfect RTS. There aren't any RTS fans anymore. It's not that they stopped making good games of the genre. It's that the genre no longer appeals to anyone. It's done. It's been played out. You could say the same for MMORPGs. Once World of Warcraft shuts its servers down, there will never be an MMORPG again. I don't think. And there are other reasons for that as well. Mainly the investment is just too high
for the player,
to be worth it. No, for the company to make an MMO. It's way too expensive. And if it doesn't fail and people aren't paying $15 a month to run all those servers and make all that new content, then you're just you're hemorrhaging money. And that's why there's no MMOs right now. What's the most popular MMO? It's still another Blizzard title, by the way, World of Warcraft, which is fucking 30 years old. I don't know. Old as shit. And that's another dead genre. And even World of Warcraft is way less popular than it used to be. Way less popular. At its peak, which I think was like Wrath of the Lich King, it had like, World of Warcraft had like 30 million subs. Can you imagine getting $15 a month from 30 million different accounts? I don't know if that number is real, but it was absurd, like ridiculous. And you can look at the monthly subscribers to World of Warcraft now. It still makes a lot of money. It's still fairly popular, but it's not what it once was because MMOs as a genre died. And FPS as a genre is so broad that it's not going to die in your lifetime, listener, or me. I don't know if you can kill a genre that's that broad, because you could do a ton of things in FPS. I mean, Tarkov is an FPS, Valorant is an FPS, Warzone is an FPS, PUBG is an FPS. There are so many very different things you can do. It's a very wide umbrella. But the subcategory of arcade shooter, it's dead. No, there's never going to be a popular 6v6 multiplayer game, respawn up to 100 kills ever again. It'll never again happen. And that is the misapprehension all of these developers have when they're trying to like eke out the perfect arcade shooter. You're missing the point. You're trying to make the best hamburger on earth. And you're thinking, if only the burger I make could be better, could be perfect, I would sell a ton of them. But you're doing it in India, where everyone is a Hindi and no one eats beef. No one wants it. So it doesn't matter how good the burger is. No one eats cow here. It's not going to work.
Shout out to cows, man.
Shout out to cows, friends of the pod. I like them. They're cool. I'm still going to eat them, though. And shout out to Hindis, by the way, also. I don't know if we have any Hindi listeners. I suspect we don't.
Sure
I would like to know if we did. But we're still going to eat beef.
Yeah.
It's too good. But anyway, that's I think the big thing that all these devs who are making arcade shooters are missing. You guys are wasting your time. You missed the boat. The genre's dead. Stop making these games. You're just pissing away money. What's the last popular 6v6 shooter?
I don't know. We were thinking about
maybe?
that yesterday, and I don't know. Like since last 3 or 4 years, I don't know a popular basic FPS
I think
game that has
MW19 was
released.
actually the last popular arcade shooter.
Probably, yeah.
And that
Pre-Warzone.
barely counts because then Warzone came out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah,
Even
I don't
before
know.
that, I think.
Yeah, speaking of that StarCraft thing, I had seen something on Instagram, and I just found the picture again. There is a picture of the 1999 Spurs playing StarCraft on their airplane with the
The San
NBA
Antonio,
trophy
the
next to them.
basketball team?
Yep.
Damn.
Tim Duncan, David Robinson, Sean Elliott, they're all sitting there on their plane with their laptops playing StarCraft in the jet
That's
in 1999.
wild.
So that game was popular if those fucking guys were gaming 25 years ago, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you summed all that up well, very well. They just, and that's the thing is people keep saying like,
that's the picture.
It's slower time to kill, faster movement, better visibility, 3-lane maps, no skill-based matchmaking, ranked mode. It's like, yeah, okay,
Brioche
but it's a
bun, garlic aioli.
multiplayer arena shooter. How long is that going to hold your attention for? I guess for some of these super sweaty kids, yeah, it will hold their attention. But like I said, after a period of time, they're going to be the only ones playing it, and then they're going to get burnt out because they're only playing against good players, which is exactly what they don't like with skill-based matchmaking. Because there won't be any bad players playing XDefiant after 2 or 3 months. There won't be. At the most, they'll be all gone. Yeah. They're playing COD where they're protected with skill-based matchmaking. They're not playing fucking XDefiant. I think it's a rough genre to try to break into still. Like people talk about, Ubisoft has kept Siege alive for however many years Siege has been out, 6-7 years. Yeah, but Siege is its own genre video game. It's its own entirely different genre in video
at all.
It's closer to like a Counter-Strike and a Valorant in a type of game mode than it is an arena shooter. It's search and destroy basically. You're defending. You have all these. Their version of ultimate abilities are. One guy gets a camera, one guy can reinforce walls, one guy has a grenade launcher that can blow up walls, one guy has a drill charge. Those are their versions of the abilities that are in XDefiant, and it's its own category. XDefiant is a category that died a long time ago, and I can't see it surviving going forward.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think just because it was made by Ubisoft and it has some big names attached to it, Aches, a former Call of Duty pro, like one of the winningest CDL players of all time, he works for them. So that's the thing. It's these guys that play competitive COD, multiplayer COD, are trying to make the game that they enjoyed 10 years ago. That's what this is. So.
Yeah, for sure. So like the thing is, the summary, the point here is that if you wanted to kill Call of Duty multiplayer, first of all, you're too late. It's already dead. No one plays Call of Duty multiplayer. And the only reason ranked multiplayer was popular, by the way, or maybe you could argue is popular still currently, maybe, is because Warzone is terrible.
Because Warzone doesn't have ranked. If Warzone was terrible and with ranked, a lot of those people on MW2 ranked would just be playing Warzone ranked.
All of them. Yep.
Most of 100%. Them, yeah. It'll always have those CDL wannabes
sure.
that'll play it over Warzone. But yeah. I mean, people like fucking L messaged me yesterday, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to play ranked MW2?" And I laughed at him, and I said, "Of course not, L. No, a guy like that would be playing Warzone ranked if it existed right now, you know." And there are a bunch of people like that. So yeah, no, I wouldn't like to play MW2 with you, L. Fuck you.
Yeah.
But L, you sent us the same message at the same time yesterday. You're a cocksucker. Oh, you laughed at him, huh?
Yeah, I gave him the point.
I was going to say he likes me better because he messaged me first, but it's because our difference. He messaged us the same minute. Mine was at 7:27 p.m. I, of course, responded 2 minutes later. You responded an hour later.
Yeah.
But I said, no, of course not, L. No.
I just gave him the point at you and then laughing face emoji. I didn't even give him a single letter.
I would argue that is more personal and disrespectful than the spit gif. Much more disrespectful, I think.
Because you're pointing at the person and laughing.
And you're putting in more work. You're adding 2 emojis in there. Mm-hmm. It's more work than just typing in spit.
That's true.
Or just adding the GIF to your favorite. It's a lot of work to point and laugh at someone, so you deserve to L. But yeah, so moving on to the last little...
Hold on. I think unlike... So anyways, real quick. If you want to kill COD multiplayer, you're too late. It's already dead. And the only way you would take like players away from COD is if you made another FPS game that was a new genre or perfecting the BR. I think BRs eventually are going to die, but I think it's a long way away. I think like 10 years we probably still have of BRs being fairly popular.
Yeah.
It's and part of the reason for that is there is so much untapped potential for a BR.
Yep.
Like when you think of arcade shooters, they've been around for 20 years now, maybe longer. We've kind of had all the ideas and we've tried them all. And some of them were really fun. Some of them weren't, and you can continue to iterate on that, but eventually the market moves on and your new ideas in that genre don't matter. For the BR, it's still pretty new, and there are still so many different things you could do with a BR that I can just imagine that can keep it fresh and fun and interesting for a very long time.
Yeah.
For example, Dr. Disrespect is making a vertical BR. Will that game succeed? Of course not, because it's being made by some fucking streamer. That game will fail. And also, most games fail anyway. So it's not even a slight on Dr. Disrespect.
The vast majority of video games made fail, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not even shitting on him. I'm just saying, like, there's some guy who is trying to get a 1% like hit chance on making a successful game. Most companies don't make successful video games, let alone some fucking streamer. There's no way that game's going to be popular, but it's not a slight on him. It's because what he's trying to do is virtually impossible. But anyways, the point is he's trying to make like a vertical BR. What does that mean? I don't know, but it's never been done. That's an interesting idea.
Yeah, something different.
What other fucking ideas could you do for a BR? Like, I can imagine so many, like, different things you could do. And so there's room for innovation, and it's still new enough. People aren't sick of it yet. So I think, unlike the arcade shooter, it is possible for a dev studio to make the perfect BR that does cut into Call of Duty's player base significantly. I think in theory, there can exist a COD killer battle royale. I think that genre does have some untapped potential, unlike the arcade shooter. But don't tell me that an arcade shooter is going to kill COD. It's not, because no one plays COD for the arcade. But I think it is possible, to make a BR that's absolutely perfect and it kills COD. Or like significant, you're never going to really kill fully COD, but significantly impacts it.
Yeah.
I think that is possible. I don't know if it's ever going to happen because the investment would be huge to be able to do that, but it is possible. It's not like trying to sell hamburgers in India.
I think the only studio that I can think of right now that could theoretically make a battle royale that could really directly compete would be Battlefield. But I think it could be done, but I don't well, first of all, they never will, and they would fuck a bunch of things up. But it's the closest thing in terms of a modern day shooter. They remove almost all the vehicles, so have, transport and stuff. You still have little choppers. They have large maps for the game already. It's, I guess you could say, similar gunplay, weapon customization and stuff. It would be the closest thing that like the most average casual player would also enjoy if they did it well.
That could more frictionlessly like switch to,
because it's so similar to it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But it's like, because all the other BRs on the market, they're all different for their own reason. Apex, totally different style of game. Fortnite, totally different style of game. PUBG, different style of game.
Old.
Warzone, PUBG's old now. Yeah, PUBG 2, PUBG 2 actually, I think comes out in a year or two. They've been talking about that a little bit here and there.
That's interesting.
But yeah, that's it. There's really not that many BRs on the market.
But
yeah, so people always ask, does like this game need a battle royale to survive? Or they'll say this game needs a BR to survive, like a lot of people ended up saying with Halo. Yeah, I don't necessarily think every game needs a battle royale mode. I think multiplayer shooters in today's world need multiple modes to keep people entertained. BRs like tell that story every match. This is why they're so popular. Far less repetitive than any core arena multiplayer shooter that these sweats will be bored of after a month.
Author now? Each BR match tells a story.
The multiple modes in Modern Warfare and Warzone 2, yeah, sure, it leads to awful dog shit, less polished modes, but in reality, that's better for the casual player base than just not having DMZ there, essentially. Because you can play multiplayer, you can play Resurgence, you can play Battle Royale, we have Plunder now, we have DMZ. There's so many different modes to play. There won't be that in XDefiant. You queue for the game or you queue for the game with ranked. It's an arena shooter.
Yeah.
There's nothing different about it.
Right.
Call of Duty has so many different things you can do in it, I think is the main part.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, the problem with that is that you need so much money to be able to do what COD does. Like, even to do all the modes Call of Duty offers poorly, you need billions of dollars, and like EA as a publisher could do it. But it would still be bad. They would still all suffer. I think, okay, does every FPS game need a BR? No, definitely not. But some of them do. Halo is one of them, for example. That's the best one. I think Battlefield probably does too, and just don't fuck it up like you did Firestorm, honestly. But yeah, like, not every FPS game needs a BR. Escape from Tarkov, for example, doesn't need a BR. But I think implied in the question, or implied when people say not every game needs a BR, is that they are thinking of a game where at its core it's an arena shooter. And I would say to that, we need to stop making arena shooters, period. That needs to not be the core of your FPS game, because it won't succeed no matter what. So if you release an arena shooter that has gun game, gunfight, search and destroy, domination, hardpoint, capture the flag, your game's still gonna fucking fail. It's still too played out as a genre. I think if you want to make a popular FPS game, you can make a BR, or you can make something else, like Tarkov, for example. I think there's plenty of room for a very good extraction shooter to come in. Hasn't been done yet, but that's like another untapped market where the perfect extraction shooter, I think, could get a ton of fucking popularity. But the arena shooter needs to not be the core game mode for any FPS game ever again. The genre is dead. It's a mistake to make arena shooters. I think it's a mistake to even have the mode in your game anymore, honestly. I just don't think they're attractive enough. If you want to make a game that an FPS game, at its core, it should be a BR, an extraction shooter, or something new. Mm-hmm. I think that is the point. But not every one of those necessarily needs a BR. I agree with that. Yeah.
I think Halo, like you said earlier, is the perfect example of a game that did actually need a BR to do well. 100%.
100%. Yeah. And we said that, but we actually, when we were talking about Halo pre-launch, I'm pretty sure I said this game definitely is going to have a BR, or it needs to.
Well, it seems so obvious. Most people had that thought. It does
seem obvious, yeah.
There was a small group of like long-term Halo players that was like, we don't need a BR, we don't want a BR. But then every big streamer, every person that was excited for Halo, they all assumed. I remember everyone talking about, like people like Nadeshot talking about like a Halo BR is going to go crazy. That's going to be huge for the gaming industry. And they didn't do it. And that was mind-blowing to me that it was right there and they just didn't do it.
Yeah,
Press the make BR button and make it, just do it.
It's that simple. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So we're going to close this out with some hot takes on the TL.
Yeah, I just kind of threw these in here. If you don't want to, I don't know if there's enough to talk about with any of these. If you don't want them, just like delete them. We won't talk about them. I just found a few real quick that seemed to have like a lot of traction, which is the main reason I put them in there.
Yeah, let's go over them. That's fine. We don't have to take forever.
Yeah, first one here was from our good little buddy Pro Reborn, Dev
Shout
Lover.
out to Pro Reborn, Dev Lover, exec hater. Yeah.
Bobby Kotick fucked up the Precision Airstrike banner. He's the reason it was on my reticle for the first 6 months of the game, not the devs. So he says, Splitgate was a small project started by two dudes in a dorm room. XDefiant is a game led by the executive producer of Call of Duty 4, funded by Ubisoft, a large company with a massive marketing budget. Regardless of this, as gamers, we should be begging for any sort of competition in a genre dominated by a singular game. Why is it dominated by a singular game? Because everyone else tries and fails, right? Even if this game has 5% of the COD player base, if 2, 3, or even more of these games pop up, that's called competition. It's called needing to work for those sales. That's where you get progression, not milking microtransactions. Well, Call of Duty doesn't have to work for their sales at all. They have the name Call of Duty and it's sold. Yeah.
They don't even have a QA department. They save money on that.
It's all on that
psyop. Yeah, and they just make more bundles, more art department hires. Yeah. This is another completely brain dead take. Not to pick on this individual, but a lot of people have been saying this. Like we talked about earlier. Oh, but if this is successful, it'll make competition, and competition is good. I'm a fucking capitalist to my core. I agree, competition is good, but an arena shooter won't compete with COD. That's the misunderstanding that this person and anyone else saying cheer for Splitgate or cheer for XDefiant are missing. Yeah, you're just.
It seems so simple to get.
It would be great if there was a game competing with COD, but if you want there to be a game to compete with COD, it won't be an arena shooter. That's what these people are failing to understand.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Next one here is from Robert Bowling. Robert Bolin.
Who is this?
This
is a gamer?
He I'm 99% sure used to work on Call of Duty in some aspects.
That sounds familiar.
Now he is the studio head and game developer of Dr. Disrespect Studio, Dead Drop. So yeah, he replies to a Read Boy thing, which Read Boy says, XDefiant is to COD what Splitgate was to Halo, a shitty generic knockoff that will die in a few weeks, months, and good night. Which is true, I agree. Read Boy's an idiot, but I agree with that mostly. Robert Bowling, head of guy making Dead Drop, Dr. Disrespect game, says, oh, come on, XDefiant is legit. It's not a knockoff of what COD is. It's a refinement of what Call of Duty was. COD made a choice
I'm so glad he said that.
to move away from its roots and origins. It's expanded to be an everything shooter. XDefiant knows what it is and does well. True, yeah, but the average player, they don't care about that type of Call of Duty anymore. That won't hold them for long.
Dude, I am so glad you found this tweet. This is exactly the misunderstanding that I was talking about. It's XDefiant is not a knockoff of what COD is. It's a refinement of what COD was. Mm-hmm. That is a stupid goal to have because no one wants to play a refined old COD game.
They think they do, but you don't. Trust me, you do not want to go back and play that.
Arcade shooters are dead. Oh, that's such a perfect demonstration of the thought that people are having. Yep. That all we need to do is refine what COD was. Refine 6v6 shooters like we had when Modern Warfare Original came out. And you're wrong. The genre's dead.
Yep.
Yeah. God, that's a good tweet.
And it's crazy that guy doesn't even realize it either. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the studio.
But Dead Drop is going to kill Warzone, by the way. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So then again, Read Boy, this was a popular one. This sparked like all the comments pretty much. Was the XDefiant is to COD what Splitgate was to Halo, a shitty generic knockoff that'll die in a few weeks, months, good night. Yeah, he got a lot of hate on this. I pretty much agree with that. I mean, he's pretty much right. Yeah, he is. Yeah. I don't think Splitgate dying had anything to do with Halo, but I think it was just a boring ass game to play. I mean, it died well before Halo even. It died like 2 months before Halo even came out.
He's saying it's a shitty generic knockoff of Halo.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So
which is probably true.
Yeah. And then, that's kind of what FaZe Kaylee said here. She said, I don't know, Splitgate ultimately died because their timing was awful. Not true. They released it before Halo coming out. It died well before Halo came out, like 2 months before it came out. If they would release it now after everything with Halo, I think it would do decent. It wouldn't. Not huge, but decent, maybe. Timing is huge with these type of games like these. COD isn't looking promising. Also, Splitgate wasn't backed by a huge developing team like Defiant is with Ubisoft. It all boils down to anti-cheat updates, funding, competition, and timing. Not true at all. It comes down to those things for like the top 5% of the player base. Every casual, updates, funding, competition, timing, it has nothing to do with those people whatsoever. That affects them not at all. Summer is around the corner. If they keep it up, they could possibly be a contender with other multi-FPS games, but not a COD killer. True, yeah, not a COD killer.
Yeah, Splitgate died because the game was boring and repetitive.
Like what?
I think there is something to be said about timing. So, like, I don't know. Let's say Warzone 3 comes out in December and it's actually really good and fun and a bunch of people are playing it. And then 3 months later, Ubisoft or fucking the Halo BR comes out and it's also really good. Halo's a big name though. So let's say like some random new dev studio makes another BR that's really, really good and fun and it comes out 3 months after the very popular Warzone 3. That would be a mistake. Yeah. And the timing there would be important and it would negatively impact the second game. But first of all, if a game is really good, it doesn't matter when it comes out. People are going to play it. I think the more important thing than timing is state of the game on launch, first impressions. I think that is way more important than when a game comes out. If another BR came out the day after Warzone 3, the perfect COD BR came out, and it was also really fucking good, people would play it and it would be a success.
Yeah.
But it would have to release fun and good. I think first impressions are way more important than timing. And I think timing will definitely contribute to like, from a business perspective, it's important for like sales and shit. That's why they released all these games right before the holidays. But in terms of longevity, if you release a really good game, people are going to play it. And it doesn't matter when it came out. And it doesn't matter what other games in that genre are on the market. People will try new games. And if they're fun and really good, they'll play them. It doesn't matter when they come out, I don't think. Not in the long run, anyway. So yeah, I just don't agree with the timing thing at all. And XDefiant is again going to die because for the reasons we've been saying. Arena shooters are boring and repetitive and no one's going to play them. And it's wild for me to hear Kaylee saying this. All these people, actually, who don't play multiplayer ever, saying, oh, XDefiant's going to be a really fun game and it's going to be really decent. Are you going to stop playing a BR? Are you going to stop playing Apex and go play ranked multiplayer on XDefiant?
Yeah.
You're definitely not. Like, why are all these people who I know are not going to be playing these games, even if it's everything they could dream they would be, saying they're going to compete with COD when they themselves are not even going to go play it?
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Yep.
Kaylee's going to go play a BR, probably. I don't know what she's doing. She plays, I think, a bunch of shit now. But, like, all these people. It's like, dude, You don't even play multiplayer anymore. Shut up.
Yep.
So dumb. But anyway.
Yeah, Splitgate went from averaging, in the 1 month it was popular, in August of 21, averaging like 15,000 viewers. By the time October and November rolled around, on Twitch, there was averaging like 400 viewers. And that was well still before Halo release. So it has nothing to do with the Halo release. It just had a 1 year life cycle. I mean, not 1 year, 1 month life cycle because it was so boring and repetitive. There was nothing in the game. There's nothing to it. Yeah, for sure. And then last one, never mind. I don't like the last one anymore. Unless you have anything to say about it.
No.
Yeah,
that's fine.
okay.
All right. So anyway, that's it. The thesis statement here is that I'm just repeating myself now, but arena shooters are dead. I think if you want to kill COD, you need to make a really good BR or a really good extraction shooter, which actually that wouldn't affect COD at all. The only way you kill COD is you make a new FPS genre that is so captivating, it gets people to switch from being BR players to that other new genre you made up players, which is a very tall order. Or you make a way better BR. I think that could nothing's going to kill COD, but if anything's going to be a COD killer, it's going to be a new type of game or a really fucking fun BR. But it's not going to be an arena shooter.
Yeah.
That's the misunderstanding. So
Grow up. They're dead.
grow up. Yeah. Get with the times. Do you drive a fucking cart and buggy too? You have a horse? You a blacksmith?
What's wrong with having a horse, man?
You have a fucking rotary phone? Stop.
The Amish
Grow
have
up.
all those things, actually.
Get with the times.
And they need to grow up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Grow up,
Yeah,
Amish people.
Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. This has been Patreon Gone Public, bonus episode number 130. If you enjoyed this episode, keep in mind, this is more the type of cadence, rhythm, and content you can expect for our bonus episodes, which are pretty much always very different than our public feed. So if you wanted more content and you enjoyed this type of episode, join the Patreon, patreon.com/thedropshot. We do 5 bonus episodes every month, just like this one. You also get ad-free episodes of the regular podcast, the public podcast, as well as early access on those episodes. And there are other benefits as well. Patreon.com/thedropshot. You can see all the benefits there. Or if you just wanted to support the program, that's the best way to do it. Reminder, we are now live streaming on Kick, as well as our website at thedropshot.com and on YouTube, all at the same time. So if you want to watch us live, do it on Kick, because that's where the revenue splits are the best, and gift us subs. Kick.com/thedropshot podcast. Give us a follow. You can catch us there next time we go live, which will be on Thursday, probably. Keep your eyes on the schedule. We post that every Monday on our Twitter, in our Discord, and on our YouTube. Thanks for watching and listening. Stay humble.
Stay humble.